Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Leticia Santos. I am the director of the Graduate and International Business School at CUNEF University. For me, it's a pleasure today to have the opportunity to open the 24th CUNEF Career Fair and to chair this table on business internationalization, global integration, and technological advances. Today, we have with us 4 guest speakers, namely Mónica Peñaranda, Human Resource Director in Farlabo, Pablo Lozano Hernandez, Senior Business Consultant in EY, Pablo de la Puente, Chief Information Officer in Gestamp, and Luis Armada, Managing Director in Investment Banking in Deutsche Bank. I want to thank our guest speakers, of course, first of all, for being here today. We know that you have very busy schedules, so we really appreciate that you have found time for being with our students today and to give us the opportunity to learn from your experience in the industry, okay? So the purpose of this roundtable, as you can imagine, is to learn firsthand from our guest speakers why globalization is a business priority nowadays and what challenges the firms are facing in this process, okay? So we all know that given the rapidly evolving global landscape, firms face many new opportunities, but also significant challenges. And firms need to adapt their strategies and operations to cope with this new reality. Many changes are already known by most of us, like, for instance, geopolitical tensions, new policies. Protectionism is growing in many countries across Europe and America. And even in Asia, we hear some news about these new policies that may hinder the global commerce. So in this new context, I'm going to ask our guest speakers several questions so that we can know their opinions and learn about their experience. And at the end of the session, I will ask you if you have any questions. In that case, please, say your name and the undergraduate or the master's degree that you are studying, okay? So, dear friends, the floor is yours. The first question that I would like to ask you is, well, in general terms, what are the challenges the key challenges of globalization nowadays? And above all, how do companies adapt their strategies or their offering in different markets to, well, deal with the differences in different cultures, markets, etc. Okay? So, starting for instance, for Mónica, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's such a pleasure being here with all of you. It's such a difficult question to answer, considering there are many, many factors we should take into account. But if I will have to choose just a couple of them, I would say it is not only about the strategy for adapting the companies to the new markets and to the globalization, but I will suggest that maybe sometimes what we should do is also focus on the vision and afterwards plan define the action plan and the strategy to get to this vision. No, so it is about the mindset of the people who is going to be joining this internationalization, for example. And in order to change the mindset, the first thing I would say that someone should change or should evolve is their behavior. So this is well connected with the fact that people areas in the companies are part of this strategy. Otherwise, if we don't take into consideration that the people is going to be adapting to this change and to this internationalization or these new strategies in different markets, is not going to work. And secondly, is I would say listening to the consumer, to the customer, because markets evolve or change because of the customers' behaviors. And sometimes it's not only about doing a market research or collaborating with a fantastic company who is doing a fantastic benchmark about this new market. It's also about being able to identify the best tools in order to listen the best possible way to the new customer. Because maybe in this new market is completely different to the market you have been working on before.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Mónica. Well, perhaps, Luis, can we hear about...
Of course. So thank you, Leticia. Thank you, CUNEF, for inviting me. This is the second year that I'm here in one of these roundtables. I'm very happy, to talk to you. This year it's a bit different, the topic, but I would say, I work in an investment bank. I work in a bank that is completely international. We are present in more than 60 countries worldwide. And obviously, it depends on the different strategies and the different countries where the bank wants to position itself. And that is part of the answer of your question. How we adapt. It depends on each region. I would say that in the case of Deutsche Bank, we mainly are, an international worldwide bank. We want to be the leaders in Europe, and therefore we spend a lot of resources and a lot of focus in Europe. In the US, for example, we want to be number one behind the American banks. So position number 5, number 6. And why is that? Because competition in the US is very, very strong. And it's a very protective market. So that's one of the reasons why, we prefer to say, look, it's very challenging for a European bank to be leader in the US, and therefore, we know where are, our limits. So in a sense, it depends on the strategy of the bank. It is the bank, the company, and how you want to position yourself. And also important to understand what is the business that you want to do in each of the regions. It's very different to do retail bank. My bank, for example, has branches here in Spain, has branches in Germany, has branches in Italy, but there's only 2 or 3 other countries where we do retail bank. Investment bank, we do across all the geographies. So it depends where you can have critical mass and gain market share. You cannot do everything in all the countries. So what we always do is pick your battles to win. And it depends on the strategy, where you go and where you want to try, to gain business. So I would say that.
Thank you very much, Luis. What can you tell us, Pablo?
Okay, thank you for inviting me, Leticia. And okay, first of all, to talk, I am a totally different company, an industrial company. We are a Spanish company that we are in 24 countries. We produce parts for the OEMs, for the brands, for Mercedes, Daimler. And we are in very different countries, but we are a family-owned company. So we are in the stock exchange market, but our values comes from the family. So it's something that we want to extend to all of our regions and our people that is working. So we have a strong corporate region here in Spain, but at the end, the profit loss account is in the factories, and the middle management of our companies, that it's people like you, for example, that can move to China, to Korea, or to the US. It's we define a clear strategy, because at the end, processes and technology and the value that has the company is key for us, and we work a lot with human resource to extend all this way of work. It's very easy for us to move people. The mobility for us is key, because we have the same processes in different countries, but the knowledge is totally different. For example, you have talked about the US. We have rates of unemployment very low. So we have to move people from Spain, from Mexico, from Germany to the US to help us. So the strategy for us is that all the companies works in the same manner with the best people and working together with the same processes. I always say I'm in charge of IT, all technology. So for me, the best thing is that one people, when he or she moved to one of our factories, the first day is working like if independent, if he's or she's in India or she's in China or she's in Spain. So I think it's the key for the strategy of the company, the way of work, and to maintain our family characteristics in all of our companies.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last but not the least, Pablo Lozano, what's your opinion as a consultant in EY?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here, you and CUNEF. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and yes, my background is a bit different. I've been working in consulting for the last 6 years with very different clients and companies and countries. The latest 2 years were in mainly Switzerland and Germany. And here I would like also, in these challenges that you asked, to pick up 2 points, always mentioned by Luis and Mónica. So first of all, it's about the products that you are offering in each country. It must be different because customer, the people, the culture is different. And to give you real examples, you cannot expect to have the asset management industry that you have in Switzerland, in other country, or for example, the life insurance or mortgages industry that you can develop in the US. So you really need to understand what the clients and the customers are expecting from you and what products you can offer there. And linked to this customer and products that you need to develop, at the same time, you need to work as a whole company together. And as Mónica mentioned, the people, it's really important here. So it's key that you have defined a strategy and you have everyone aligned. And this is not easy because the cultural behavior is very different. Although you need to develop the same strategy, you need to explain to Chinese colleagues or Australian to be aligned with the strategy at the same time with the Latin America or the US, and that needs a lot of investment, time, trainings that you cannot underestimate, because if not, at the end, your vision, the strategy, the plans won't work.
Okay, thank you very much. You have mentioned several aspects very important, like, for instance, listening to consumers, understanding consumer behavior in different markets. Even as Luis has mentioned, trying to decide what battles you want to win, what type of products you want to commercialize in different markets. And even you have mentioned regulation, but in general terms, do you perceive that protectionism is a new fashion in different countries, and that perhaps in the future it's going to be more difficult to become globalized? Any of you that may have any opinion in this respect? I know that you belong to quite different industries, services, consultancy, retail, manufacturing firm. So what's your impression?
It's a good question. It's a good question because we all talk about globalization and we want to be in every place. And yes, I mean, I talk every day with Asia Pacific. I talk to the US, I talk to London every day. But the reality is that protectionism is the flavor of the month. And I'm going to give you a very specific example in Spain. In Spain, since the COVID, the Spanish government implemented what is called the FDI, Foreign Direct Investment Limitations or Restrictions. Any investment, any acquisition that a company does in Spain within any critical sector is everything. It's everything. it will need to be approved by the ministry, by the Ministry of Economy. And it's true that for the last 2 or 3 years, they have blocked, I think it's 1 or 2 acquisitions, but the latest one has been Talgo. I guess that you've heard about the potential acquisition of Talgo. On that one, because of the Russian connections, the government has blocked the acquisition. So it's true that more and more, these FDI limitations are coming. And this is not only Spain. This is Spain, this is Europe, this is, across the world. And I was mentioning before, specifically at Deutsche Bank, we want and we need to be in the US. US is the market number 1 in the world. And if you are an investment bank, you have to be in the US. But it's really difficult to compete against the Goldman Sachs, the Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. And why that? Because there is a lot of regulation and a lot of protectionism towards the local companies, right? So yes, globalization is there, and we see more and more crossover deals, from US, from Asia Pacific. I'm currently working on a deal with a Singaporean client wanting to invest in Spain. So this is globalization. But the reality is that they will have to talk, they will have to call the Ministry of Economy and say, hi, I want to do this investment.
Yeah.
So it's true that there's more regulations.
Yes.
I think automotive is a good example. So we are living a big disruption with electrical vehicle today, and the protectionism with Asia, for example, for Chinese cars that are cheaper, better, perhaps than European electric vehicles. So they have suffering a protectionism from Europe because the big German OEMs are talking with European Union to provide or to try to stop the movement from Chinese OEMs to install production in Europe. The main problem in the automotive sector is the logistic. So to move the cars is the more expensive. So everybody wants to install in the country where they want to sell, or more or less close to the countries that they want to sell. It's the reason that we are in 24 countries. But today, Chinese government it's true that they are doing perhaps dumping, okay, in the automotive sector, but they want to install production in Europe. And the protection is in the US is impossible. And in Europe, I don't know if they will achieve or they will have capacity in less than 5 years, probably yes. But it's clear, no, the protection is, and it's the same, for example, in the regulation with artificial intelligence. All of you are probably hearing about generative AI, ChatGPT, etc. So it's totally different, the regulation and the protectionism in Europe, in the US, and Chinese. In our factories, we are applying all these technologies, but we cannot do in the same manner because of the regulation and the protectionism. So Chinese is very open. In the US, more or less the same, and the startups are working very well. But in Europe, we have many problems with the data protection to apply AI Act, the policy. So it's something that we have to work, and it's all related to protectionism. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know if you have any other further opinions.
In my case, I can talk about we have like a list of 10 to 12 KPIs that we monitor. One of them, it's geopolitical changes as well, that you never know what's going to happen in each country. Also these regulatory topics. And we measure that and monitor it individually for the 54 countries where we are operating. And for example, you may have a data center with all the information of your clients or customers in a conflict place. So maybe you need to think about, imagine that you have it in Florida at the moment, or in Israel, or in this kind of places. You need to have already a deputy there that it's managing that information, and you need to be able to have contingency plans in case something happens, and what will be the impact on your business. So you need to be always ready for these kind of changes, because you never know when, from one day to the other, everything can change, and for sure, even if it's minimal, it will impact your business and operation activities in a day-to-day.
Well, it's a bit concerning what you're explaining. Well, perhaps, Monica, if you don't mind, we can move forward to the next question. After talking about regulation, we also know that cultural barriers that you have mentioned, even language barriers, and many other factors may condition the collaboration between teams in different countries. So I would like to know what type of policies or practices your companies have implemented to help teams to collaborate, to align with the company values, to work efficiently in one word. Okay, so if you can give us any example, perhaps Monica, you can start. And also I would like to know, well, you have mentioned some aspects, but bearing in mind that many of our students may be willing to work in an internationalized context, what type of skills, what type of abilities they need to deal with this complex reality and to adapt to this rapid moving context, okay? Mm-hmm. So Monica, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, the first question was about, the first question, I was about to answer the second one, sorry. First one, could you...
Whatever you want. I mean, I was asking in the first place what type of policies you may implement to help teams to collaborate. Okay?
True. Well, I would say it depends on any company, okay? Because as maybe you already know, we are the leading distribution company in Spain about luxury products in cosmetics and selected perfumery. It depends on the company, but I would say that in our case, we are a small, medium company, quite particular, because we have two joint ventures, one with Interparfum, which is one of the biggest luxury groups of France and of Europe, maybe. And the second one is with Deutsche Gabbana. We created Deutsche Gabbana Beauty. So it's a completely different culture only in Europe, comparing France with Italy. And what we have experienced now after working with these two joint ventures and with a lot of teams working together is the importance of having all the people who is in these managerial roles completely aligned with the different markets. And it's such a challenge, considering that if you have a manager from Spain, for example, it's almost impossible that it's going to be more focused a little bit in Spain. So how do we do that? We normally work in a human resource perspective and on a political or internal political, where we work on a transparency point of view, sharing with all of them different objectives and the different goals, and challenging them to focus on each objective depending on the moment of the market. No, for example, sometimes we need to adapt even our products, because I'm sure you have already you heard about Rochas, which is one of our main brands we distribute exclusively in Iberia, and Spain is one of the most important markets. However, and France also, but mainly Spain. And for example, in Spain, it's a market where the floral and citric perfumes works perfectly well, whereas in France is much more the gourmand and the strongest, they would say, perfume. So we need to adapt even for the products. We sometimes have to. There's a lot of meetings, internal meetings, where we are willing to, for example, be the number one in this kind of perfume with our partners in France, and it's impossible because in this culture people don't value the floral perfumes as in Spain, because it's also about the weather, it's about the climate. In Spain, it's much warmer than in France, so it's easier, for example, no? So having managerial roles where they are able to understand the different objectives of the different markets, and they also understand what are the priorities in each moment, I think is key. Mm-hmm. Training teams, but not training. I mean, I have a vision of this in quite a disruptive way, because I'm not talking about traditional training. No, I'm talking about finding the people who is able to support the change management, human resource impulse. if we are part of the strategy, then all the human resources areas should be focusing on leading this change. And this training should be part of the mindset change of the people, no? In order to be aligned and to be focused on sharing the ideas and focusing on these different markets, but to be aligned again. And secondly, for the skills, well, I would say, first of all, I think it's a must being able to work from a cross-functional point of view. And this applies not only internationally talking, but also internal in the company, internally talking about different departments. Because sometimes what I see in the new generations, and I am a lecturer of different universities here in Madrid, is young people they are very, very focused only in the area, only in the department. And nowadays, one of the most important skills for being a future leader is being able to have this transversal kind of leadership. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, is one of the key aspects in order to be a future international leader, I would say.
Thank you very much, Mónica. Luis, what can you tell us in your experience? What do you expect about new employees? How do you manage to integrate teams?
So how do we do? Obviously, I mean, I was reading the stats yesterday, and apparently we have more than 150 nationalities in Deutsche. This is the same across all the international banks, and I'm sure that it's the case. But what do we do? Look, at Deutsche Bank, we offer rotations. When someone like you come into Deutsche Bank, you have the possibility of rotating across the different jurisdictions. I was 2 years in London before coming to Madrid. But in my team, there is one guy that was 1 year in New York, another one is now in London. Last year, we had 2 guys that were in London working in different departments. So the rotation is very important, not only in the Spanish team, but across the different teams. That's one. Second one, networking. The bank, whenever you promote, from analyst to associate, from the associate to vice president to director to MD. The bank organizes certain trainings, but the reality is that it's not a training where they're going to explain you, subjects. No, it's more networking. So you come across and you know people from China, people from from different parts of the world, Singapore, from New York, from Los Angeles, whatever. So it's very important, the networking. And one very important for you guys is that you always have to think about team. This is not about you, about, being, the fantastic leader or the fantastic guy. Think always on being a team, a team member, and work always like that. It's very important that when you talk about your success or you talk about, you mention everyone, you mention a team. So it's very important in this type of, banks, this type of, and even the society. I'm sure that this applies to everyone, that you are, always talking and always thinking on, contributing together with your team. And finally, and this also has relationship with the IT. It's obviously to have weekly calls or today's video calls. It's very easy to have, regular meetings with people in New York, with people in Singapore, with people in London, with people in Frankfurt. And therefore, that's a very important way to keep everyone in the firm or everyone in the division, well aware of what is happening, the deals, or what are the new initiatives, the policies, or, you name it. But that's how we work at Deutsche.
Thank you very much, Luis. So, Pablo, it's your turn. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think you have a very nice opportunity because of the technology. It's not good at because I am the
No,
chief
but I
information officer, but it's true that you are digital native.
I fully
Okay, so you have a lot of tools because your skills are one that you have studied, that you are working a company because of this skill. But we work at Gestamp in a big project in order to do first an onboarding to understand the company. That is very important, how to work across the organization, but not only upskilling processes. I think it's important because you need a lot of tools, not only your knowledge about in finance or in industry. If we are developing, for example, battery boxes for the new cars, there are many people involved. And as he has mentioned, there are weekly calls. We have all the tools to connect the people. But the most important thing for us, you can work follow the sun. So at the end, we have people in Asia, we have people in the US, we have people in Europe. So you are all coordinated, and we name in a federated teams. So you're working with people in India, with people in the US, in the same manner that they are in the office, because you have all the tools, you have all the information in the cloud, you have all the things to work together. And when you wake up in the morning, it doesn't mean that you need to be 12 hours or 14 hours, okay? But when you are at the office early in the morning, you know perfectly what has happened during the night in your project, in your job, and you can continue working and you can contact everyone. I think it's this flexibility that you have mentioned is very key, and that we have our own ego, no, in these kind of things. But I think the collaboration teams and these federation teams, it's working properly. You have heard about agile mode of work and these kind of things that we have a process of onboarding in this way of work, and people want to work in this manner, because if not, there are many people that is working in silos, and these silos, at the end, you don't have a professional career. So you can stay in one country, in one function, in one job, but at the end, you cannot move professionally. And we have 44,000 people around the world, and I think minimum 10-15% of the people is moving. During 1 year, we're moving 15% of the people in the company. So I think it's good. I think it's good not only to move physically, but to move and work in different projects with the rest of the people of the organization.
Thank you very much, Pablo. And Pablo, I also have a question for you, because thinking you dealing with clients in the banking sector or even in knowledge-intensive business services as consultancy, it's very important. So bearing in mind this idea, dealing with a client, could you also add something about what skills are necessary in addition to how do you integrate teams, but what aspects are especially necessary when you as a professional have to deal on a regular basis with different clients?
Of course. So, for example, we for example, at the moment at UI have people from Switzerland, Germany, Spain, India. You never know, because depending on the demand and the skills that you need, you will look for them in different countries. And for me, the key is to be open-minded. You need to understand every situation. I encourage you to take the opportunities of going to these exchange programs or Erasmus or working during the summers in other countries, because that will allow you to understand how other people think. So, for example, if a German tells you that at 12 they are going lunch at 12. Don't schedule a meeting at that time. However, it is for Spanish, they will tell you at 2, but maybe it's 2:30 or 3, or you never know. So, and maybe, this, depending on the people, they will get upset and really upset with you or not. So you really need to, before going into action or managing or going into a meeting, if you are in Spain, you will ask on Monday, how was the weekend? And in Germany, it will be, okay, what is the agenda today? Let's go. So it's really different. You need to understand some people in Latin America, for example, you need to encourage them to talk more. So it's really about understanding how other people think, how other people work, and developing that people skills about understanding others and always trying to meet new people, networking, trying to contact people from other cultures, from the global networking that you can already have, and jump into to the swimming pool without any fear, and speak up as well. Just don't wait until something or opportunities are coming, because it's always about you trying to go to the next step in your career.
So it seems that it's not only about having knowledge about your sector or having knowledge in general about an industry, but also about soft skills, okay? And of course, you have mentioned how technologies may help to share knowledge, to share values, to keep in touch, perhaps even to team up, as Luis has mentioned. But now, my last question, I would like to ask you just 1 minute about this last question, because we want to give the opportunity the students to ask their own questions as well. Is, in addition to these aspects that we have already, or that you have already commented on, how technologies have transformed the internationalization of companies, okay? So we all have heard about e-commerce. We know that we can keep in touch anytime with anyone, anywhere. But could you give us a practical example, or perhaps an outstanding experience in your companies about how technologies have helped this transformation? Whoever you want, whoever who wants to go first.
I can start. Look, I mean, IT obviously is critical in today's world. That there's no doubt there. And it's changing the dynamics of work, to be honest. Obviously, video calls are now the flavor of the month, and that helps us, in our case, to travel less, and therefore to save costs. I think that we've saved more than 50% of traveling expenses, from 3 or 4 years ago. So it's amazing the huge amount of money, that we are saving on that. But it's not always good. I mean, I'll give you a specific example. Working from home, with all the technological advances, now there's implemented, at my bank, that at least one day you can work from home. Whatever day you want, you can choose. Before that, you had 2 or 3 days, and they have reduced. The reality is that is very convenient, but you also have to think that whenever you are not with your manager or with your boss together, you learn less, because you are not together with him. Imagine in my work, when you are modeling, where you're doing evaluation report, or where you are doing an Excel, many technical things, and you are working from home. It's not the same that whenever you are, with your boss together. So it depends on the work, obviously, and we obviously want to flexibilize. It's very important to be flexible, and that's what we offer. But sometimes you have to also be aware that technological advance is great, but you always have to to cope with also each of the works. So that's what I would say, on the idea.
I agree with you, but I think it's important to adapt our companies to the new way of work. Okay, so I think in our company we have a lot of legacy systems, and we are moving to a totally different. I think your way of work is totally different, like in a social network. So we have to adapt how people inside the company can interact. We cannot put barriers in terms of technology. Many of the companies, we are suffering with ChatGPT and all these kind of productivity tools. And because cybersecurity, we are cutting inside our companies, but we cannot stop this. So we have to find the way, the manner to adapt our companies and to avoid these risks and permit all these kind of things. And this is the way that we are doing, because if not, we cannot attract any young people.
That's true.
And on the other hand, technology is helping to find anyone in anywhere. So if we need one person, for example, in data or in finance, and here in Spain it's very difficult to find, we can find in Poland, or we can find in India, or we can find. It's true that the remote work 100% is not good. It's not good because at the end, you are not working for a company, you are working, I don't know, one entity, but you are not, you don't leave the brand and you don't leave the company. And people is doing a step back in this way of work because they want to be in the office, they want to collaborate with people, stay at home 5 days in a week. It sounds strange. But it's true that the technology helps us to do both methods. And so you need to permit, depending on the functions. I have people in communications area. So they need to connect with all the plans, but they don't need to do projects. So it's a very technical process, so they can do in remote mode. But in a collaborative project is more difficult. So I think we need to adapt the company, we need to provide the enough technology, and we need to provide the enough technology, the innovative technology to adapt for the people that want to work in your company.
Okay, thank you very much. Mónica, what do you think?
Well, I would say regarding our business, we still are in such a massive change regarding technology because we started exporting now our own brand. We created the perfume of Hoss Intropia. It's a brand of Tendam, and we collaborate with them for creating and designing this perfume, and it is a massive help considering that we distribute 45 brands, so it is very difficult to have the accuracy of the right data about the stock, about considering internationalization. So this is a massive help. But also regarding the teams, we are also now in a consultancy process where we are rethinking our internal processes. We are all focusing on digitalization, total digitalization. And I can also even speak about myself because when I came to this company, there was no human resource department inside. It was externalized. So I created it, and there was not even a software. So in only less than 6 years, we have absolutely everything digitalized. And instead of creating it from scratch, listening to what normally people do in these areas, we did it on the other way. So we started with focusing group, and we listened what were the pain points, and we listening to that, we created this system, and now we are able to share information. Well, I have all this traceability about every single data with data, as you can imagine, delicate data about human resources, and it's also helping us to empower our leaderships, considering we are transforming also our culture because we duplicated the number of people and also the turnover of the company in the last 2 years. So we have grown a lot, and this means also sharing this our culture and our values in the best possible way, especially considering we are a family company and we also want to keep our essence, but also being able to adapt to the new models or the new ways of working. I have been a massive defender of the hybrid model, and now we have 2 days of teleworking. And we defined it in a way where, to be honest, there's a lot of people where they even prefer going to the company because we normally see we are a kind of ideas laboratory where everybody is collaborating with other areas. So normally people is willing to go to the office in order to share these ideas. But at the same time, we want them to have this flexibility because, as Pablo mentioned, we also need to adapt to the demand of the new talent market.
So, sorry, I like to tell my students that listening to anthropologists, they say that we humans are social beings. So we need society, we need to be with other persons just to grow as individuals and also at the workplace. So staying at home all the time, as you have mentioned, is not an option. But Pablo, let us know what's your experience in EY. I mean, how technology has transformed your operations.
So, for example, about these technological advances, of course, Pablo will know much more about this because of his experience, but at the moment, information is key to take decisions, and every board of directors, managers, they are expecting to have the information now. So they need to take decisions, and you cannot wait the information from Colombia or Mexico telling you, no, I will tell you how many products I sold, or how many contracts we perform at the end of the week or at the end of the month. We will share with you the reporting. No, I want information now, today. What happened today? What did we sell last week? We cannot wait because competitors are there already. So and these technological changes and these legacy systems sometimes take years to change into new tools that you develop, because it's about licenses, right management, a lot of topics that you need to take in mind and in consideration when going into these changes. Massive information about clients and your products, but at the end it's something you need to do in order to perform your operations better in the future. So yeah, I think it's really important to have live information, to go with the technological advances, to be connected with your colleagues from other countries. And yeah, and regarding these mobility programs, of course, now since COVID, I would say we are more used to have more videos, but at the same time, it's very good if you meet your team. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, we had people from the Philippines coming into Germany. We have in Switzerland people coming from EY Spain also every month. So it's about connecting people, going to the office, and you never know when new opportunities will come.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we still have about 15 minutes left, as we started 5 minutes late. So now it's your turn if you want to ask any questions to our guests. As I was saying at the beginning of the session, please, if you have a question, stand and say your name and the degree or the master's degree you are studying, and also to whom you would like to ask your question. I think we have a microphone available if you want to. Yes, of course. Any questions? Take this fantastic opportunity, because we have here with us, as you know, 4 managers with a large experience, professional experience, so they can answer any questions you may have about globalization or even related to their companies. So who's going to be first?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Yeah, we have a question there. 2, I believe. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you for coming and talking. So I'm an Erasmus exchange student here, and I work remotely for a US-based company, and their product is a mental fitness product, right? So you have talked about this hybrid solution and this family aspect, and how you also talked about your focus is, Monica, now on change management and other training programs. So I want to ask, is that because you're keeping in mind the well-being of your employees, or is that unconsciously happening or consciously happening, or are you consciously thinking about well-being for your employees and have anything in place for that?
Well, such an interesting question. Well, definitely we are aligned with the well-being of our employees, and most of the decisions we make, we align this with business. I'm not going to lie, because of course we are here to sell, and I mean we are a company, but we are completely aligned with always. I always say that my aim is doing my work in the way that everybody comes to work happier every day. It seems quite simple, but it's not at all. And all these well-being programs involve a lot of facts that sometimes are quite difficult to go to practice. No, for example, we are a pioneer company where we have a new program where we support our directors, all our employees, all our collaborators, when they are going to be mom or dad, and we support them with specific medical services and professionals, where they support them in different services. No, so for example, being able to launch this new benefit for the company was such a challenge, but we are happy to say that we were the pioneer company that were able to do that, considering we are a 94% of women works in this company, so we have a lot of leaders where they became mom when they are having a managerial or a director role, and I cannot even explain with words how successful was it? Because at the beginning when we were sharing this, it was like, wow, this is quite like difficult to understand sometimes, no? So for example, in this case, this is part of our well-being program, or the fact that we have psychological support with no cost, because this is cost by our company. So again, I'm not saying that these are key points only for this, but I will say that it's a little bit, it's one step closer to a well-being program, because managers and our employees should feel, for asking them feeling part of something, I would say that we need to be at the right level when they are in a difficult moment of their life or in an important moment of their life. So I am convinced that these well-being programs are also key for this talent, and for this talent for them to be willing to be part of this project for the long term.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Yes, you have.
Hi, I'm Pablo. I'm studying the Master in Data Science here in CUNEF, and I have a question for you, Pablo de la Puente. You talk about rotating across the countries. I want to know if there is any profile for the employees that are rotating, or they are all able to rotate. And
Okay. I think everybody can rotate, but in your case, no, that you are talking about data analysis and these kind of things. So you have the opportunity, in order to understand the business, I think is key to move around any plant, any country, to understand what are you working on. Because at the end, if you're in a corporation and you don't understand the business that you're working on, it's very difficult to adapt your knowledge and to adapt all that you are doing to the company. So in the case of data, talking about data, we have data analysts around the world, because we have not only in IT, are more technical people, but we have people in the business areas. So we provide the opportunities, for example, finance. No, we have finance at plant level, at region level, or at corporate level. Okay, so we promote that the people can understand the way of work, the culture, and how this business area work in the different countries. So you can move to the US, for example, from Michigan, in Troy, if you want to work in data analysis, but after you want to move to Asia to work in the same area or not, you can move to sales, or you can move to purchasing, because at the end you are very cross in the case of data analyst. And it's that we promote, because I don't want that you stay more than 6 months working in the same project, because if not, at the end you cannot adapt, or you cannot improve all your things that you are learning, because we have two separate way of work, with the business area and with the new technologies. You need to understand which are the improvements in data analytics, if we are working in a different manner with artificial intelligence, or we are applying this method or another method. So we work in both things, learning, process learning, and mobility if you want. It's not mandatory, but you will have more opportunities to escalate in the organization if you work in this manner. So it's an adaptive program, depending on the situation of anyone. But I think it's better, and I recommend all my employees that are normally we take here. We are a Spanish company, but we normally say, okay, the first 6 months, the first 1 year, okay, give you an opportunity in another country to understand. It's not necessary. We are not in New York. We are not in San Francisco. We are not in a very nice countries, very nice cities, but very interesting countries, very interesting cultures in Shanghai, or in Korea, or in Japan, or in North Carolina. So I think it's good to understand, but you will maintain your way of work, and you will maintain working with the same people around the world. So I think it's a good thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question, please? As we have said, yes, please.
Hello, good morning. My name is Virginia, and I'm studying the master's degree in International Business and Global Management. First of all, thank you so much for for coming here and giving us this amazing advice. So my question would be how is digital transformation, and it's a general question for everyone, like regarding your own opinion, how is digital transformation affecting employability nowadays, and which areas do you see as like the most promising for job growth? And also regarding skills, what would you say are the most in-demand skills nowadays that you're looking in a junior profile? Thank you.
Well, perhaps Luis and Pablo, if you want to answer these questions. Yeah.
So it depends. I mean, it's true that digitalization, is changing the way of work. However, in the place where I work, in the division where I work, which is what you will know M&A or advisory, it's difficult to have a machine that that takes your job, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a work of a lot of relationship with clients, a lot of trust, and a lot of advice. What is true is that the digitalization is helping a lot to the work of the analysts, of the juniors. There's more databases. There's obviously the ChatGPT that helps a lot, in research. So there are different tools that are helping a lot in the in the elaboration of the products that we do. So it's true that things are changing, but I think that are changing, at least in this job, are changing for good, because there are more tools. What do we look for? Skills, for someone, at least on our side. I think, Pablo, you were mentioning, to be open-minded. That's very important. Very important, the open mind. Very important, the team spirit that I was talking before. Very important to be able, or to be open, to movement, to mobility. And at the same time, obviously, languages. It's important, you all talk English, obviously, but the more you are fluent, in other languages, the better, because it gives you, the possibility to rotate to other countries, right? So that's what I would say.
Thank you very much.
And I would say that about consulting at the moment, the skills that are being very demanded is like hot topic would be Gen AI. So the clients are calling you every day. Hey, what do you know about Gen AI? Can I implement something within my operation? How can you help me with the framework? Any governance, any roles that I need to develop regarding Gen AI? So I think it's very important to be in the latest trends. Of course, you are not going to be an expert, because it's something everyone is learning at the moment, but you need to be already in the wave to not miss anything. And when you are asked, and when you need to show that you are willing to learn always, because otherwise you won't be in the first line. And also when you start working, it's about trying to learn and to be always open to go to work with new people in new projects, because what I always say to my friends and my colleagues in the project, you will work with sometimes 2 people, other times 10, other times 20, and it's about understanding what is this guy doing really well. So he's very good in public speaking. Let's try to learn something from him. This guy is really good with Excel or PowerPoint, how he does. Or you need to try to adapt to and get the best from the people surrounding you.
Only to
Yes,
add one
of
thing.
course,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Digital transformation, I think, is in the agenda of every CEO of any company. So it's something that perhaps 90% of the companies are working on. Okay, I don't know any company that are doing. We need to reinvent, because of the technology will change many rules in terms of what type of workers. For example, in our case, we are moving from analogic factories with many people to digital factories. Digital factories without with less workers, with different job and more robotics. So in our case, we look for robotics people. We need for people that works around the data. So is key, data and data scientists that have the capacity to do the analysis of this data. Again, for this, you need to know the business. So it's important have not only a technical knowledge, you need to understand how the business works. People who develop algorithms around the data to provide these tools that everybody is demanding. And Gen AI today is true that it's a hype. I think it's not mature. There are not, I don't know how many projects in production are, but less than 10% of all the things that you can hear about generative AI are in production, because it's a new technology that we are working on. It's true that every week, every month change this technology, and we need to understand and we need to adapt. But okay, it's something that you need to learn, but we don't need to be always in the hype, in the moment of the hype, because the technology is not mature, and at the end could be human. No, and you need to land the things that you're working on, but all related with data, with analytics, with algorithms. I think it's the most demand, and at the moment in Spain there are no people. So this is the reason that you need to work around the countries.
Okay, thank you very much, Pablo. I think we have time for one last question. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Alfonso. I am in the double degree bachelor in Derecho. And I have a question for Pablo, Pablo Lozano, that you made a lot of emphasis in the importance of rotation programs and abroad experience. And I wanted to ask how strongly do you recommend having this abroad experience as soon as possible? And I mean, like as soon as you get out of university, and also how accessible are these opportunities for fresh news people that have just come out of university? I mean, is there a higher demand for those students who are willing to go abroad, or for those who want to remain in Spain, for instance?
Thank you very much for your question. For me, being able to work with other people, to learn, to do exams in other university, to understand how other people think, as soon as possible, it will get you an advance against your competitors, with other people when going to interviews. So I think that it's really, really important that you have this learning experience from your university to your first years or career, because if you are living in Spain, you always have the chance to come back. And regarding the mobility programs, usually it really depends on the projects and in the demands at the moment, but you have so many projects, so many clients worldwide, that it's usually, if you have the willingness to learn and to travel, once you start, it never stops, because there are always a lot of opportunities. Sometimes you want to go to Poland, but the opportunity is in Mexico, so maybe you need to go for a couple of months to Mexico, and then from Mexico something comes up in the US and you need to go there, or maybe you prefer to stay in Latin America for more time. So it's about trying to combine the needs of the company and the willing of the countries that you want to travel. But of course, there are always opportunities. And from my experience in consulting, it's very easy, and I highly recommend to take these opportunities and advantages of working in different industries, companies, countries, and different culture of the people, because it broadens your mind and you will understand how to deal in many more situations.
Thank you very much, Pablo. I don't know if any of you wants to add anything else.
No.
Okay, so I want to thank again our guest speakers for being here today. Pablo, Luis, Mónica, we really appreciate your presence. Thank you very much again. Thank you very much for your advice. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. This is your home. We expect to see you in the near future again with us. So, and thank you also to all the students, to the audience for being here today. I think this is a great opportunity for all of you. So thank you all, and see you soon. Thank you. Thank you.